Welcome to the Science of Hockey, the podcast where we break down the science behind ice hockey. I'm the analyst, your host, and every week we explore the data, research, and evidence that shape how we play, train, and understand the game of hockey. From biomechanics to performance psychology, we take you beyond the rink and into the research lab, giving you insights that go beyond hearsay and into what really makes the difference on the ice. Whether you're a player, a coach, a parent, or just someone passionate about the sport, we're here to bring you scientifically backed information in a language that's friendly and easy to understand. So grab your skates and let's dive into the science of hockey. Hello, hockey fans. This is the Science of Hockey, and I'm your host, the analyst. In this episode, we examine the patterns of injuries in men's ice hockey, breaking down how training, gameplay, and position affect injury trends. Let's dive into the research and discover the path to safer play.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're gonna be talking about hockey.
Ooh, hockey.
Yeah. We're lacing up our skates and diving deep into the world of ice hockey injuries.
Okay.
Specifically orthopedic injuries in men's hockey.
Right.
And we're going to be covering everything from junior leagues all the way up to the pros.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
No.
We got a lot of data to go over.
Yeah, we do.
We're going to be pulling insights from this massive 2022 scoping review.
Okay.
Published in the Orthopedic Journal of Sports Medicine.
Oh, cow.
They analyzed a whopping 92 research articles.
Wow, so this is going to be a long one.
Yeah, get ready for some serious knowledge bombs.
Okay, so before we get into all the sprains and strains and all that thing, in this review, really surprised me.
Okay.
The type of arena you play in can actually influence injury rates.
Interesting.
Turns out, arenas with flexible boards could reduce injuries, like slash 'em, by almost a third.
It's wild, right?
The study suggests flexible boards absorb more impact, like reducing the force to the player during, like, a collision.
That makes sense.
But even with this compelling data,
Yeah.
their adoption has been slow.
Really?
Cost is a factor for sure.
Yeah.
But there's also the traditional mindset in hockey.
Mm-hmm.
Some argue that flexible boards, might alter the game too much.
I see. So like a clash between innovation and tradition.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, speaking of traditions, maybe that plays a role in why injury rates vary so much between different leagues. This review found an average of 20 orthopedic injuries for every 1,000 times an athlete participates, in a practice or game.
Wow.
Which, to be honest, sounds like a lot.
It does sound like a lot.
But that number, swings wildly.
It really does.
It ranges from the relatively safe college leagues here in the U.S. to the pro leagues in Europe.
Yeah.
Where that number skyrockets to nearly 70 injuries per 1,000 exposures.
Yeah, to understand why, we need to look at the rule book.
So a European player isn't necessarily more prone to injury.
Right.
It's just the context they're playing in that creates more risk.
Exactly. Take checking, for example.
Yeah.
It's a staple in pro leagues overseas, but banned in U.S. college hockey.
Wow. Okay.
That one rule difference contributes significantly to the injury disparity.
Interesting.
And this goes beyond just checking.
Yeah.
The overall intensity and style of play encouraged by different leagues can make a huge difference.
That makes sense. So you've got the rules, the style of play, and then you've got the training itself. The review found that, not surprisingly, games are more injury-prone than practices.
Makes sense.
But what I didn't expect was that junior leagues and Asian pro leagues actually have the highest rates of training injuries.
Interesting.
Why is that?
Wait.
Are they just going too hard in practice?
It's likely tied to the intense training culture in those leagues.
Okay.
They're known for pushing players, especially younger ones, which can lead to a higher risk of injury, even during practice.
Okay, so it's like a double-edged sword.
It is. You're striving for excellence.
Yeah.
But sometimes at the cost of player well-being.
So for any aspiring pros listening out there, be smart about your training and build up that strength gradually.
Absolutely.
Don't sacrifice your long-term health for short-term gain.
Yep.
Now, we've talked about the overall landscape.
Yeah.
But let's get a little more specific.
Okay.
Which body parts take the biggest beating in hockey?
Well, it probably won't shock you to hear that hips, knees, and shoulders are the stars of many research papers.
Right.
But the breakdown of injury types is pretty interesting.
Okay.
More than a third of the studies in this review actually looked at general injuries rather than zeroing in on one specific body part.
So a lot of bumps and bruises and general wear and tear.
Exactly.
But when we do get into those specific areas, facial injuries seem to stand out. The pros especially take a beating above the neck.
They sure do.
And you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
It's largely down to the lack of mandatory face shields in the pros, along with, well, fighting. These two factors just aren't as prevalent in college hockey.
Right, exactly.
There's that ongoing debate in pro hockey about shields versus tradition.
Yeah.
A tough one to resolve.
It is a tough one.
But beyond the face,
Yeah.
Are there any other injury trends that differ depending on the level of play?
Absolutely. Across the board.
Okay.
Forwards are the most frequently injured.
Really?
It likely comes down to their size and style of play.
Okay.
They tend to be smaller and play at higher speeds, leading to more quick changes in direction and ultimately more chances for something to go wrong.
So to all the fearless forwards out there,
Yeah.
maybe a little extra caution might be needed.
A little extra caution.
And maybe give your defenseman a high five for keeping you safe out there.
Good point.
Now let's dig deeper into some of the specific injuries that plague hockey players, starting with the hips.
Okay.
Get ready for this.
Okay.
Pro hockey players have shockingly high rates of cam impingement.
It's true.
This is a condition where the shape of the hip bone can lead to pain and limited movement. And here's the kicker.
What's that?
Many players have it without even experiencing symptoms.
Yeah. Isn't that wild?
Wait, seriously?
Yeah.
They're out there playing at the highest level with a hip issue.
Yeah.
And no clue.
That's what the research tells us.
Wow.
And it seems that goalies are actually the most vulnerable to this.
Really?
Which might come as a surprise.
Definitely surprising to me.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have pegged goalies as the ones with hip problems.
It's all about the demands of the position.
Yeah, okay.
Think about it. They're constantly in a deep squat,
Yeah.
making these explosive lateral movements to block those shots. That takes a toll on the hip joint over time.
Okay. That makes sense when you put it that way.
Yeah.
But what happens if a player does need hip surgery? Are they able to get back on the ice?
The good news is that hip arthroscopy has a very high success rate in hockey.
Okay.
Over 90% of players are able to return to the sport.
Wow, okay.
And one study even found that return to sport rates in the NHL are actually better
Oh, wow.
than in basketball, football, or baseball.
Wow, that's reassuring.
It is. It really highlights the advancements in surgical techniques and rehab protocols.
Yeah, so even if surgery is needed,
Yeah,
there's a strong chance of making a comeback.
absolutely.
Okay, but hips aren't the only trouble spot.
Right.
Let's shift our focus to another common hockey injury,
Okay.
the dreaded ACL tear.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I know ACL tears aren't as frequent in hockey as in some other sports, but when they do happen,
Yeah.
it seems like it's often those speedy forwards who are sidelined.
You're right. Remember those quick changes in direction we talked about?
Yeah.
Well, they put a lot of stress on the knee,
Okay.
making forwards more susceptible to ACL tears.
So for all you listeners channeling your inner McDavid out there, yeah.
Pay attention to those knees.
Yes.
Proper training and conditioning are crucial.
Absolutely.
But what about those who do end up with a torn ACL?
Yeah.
What's the recovery process like?
NHL players actually have a higher rate of returning to play after ACL surgery
Okay.
compared to other leagues.
Okay.
It's likely due to the access they have to top-notch medical care. However, and this is a big however,
No.
their careers might be shorter overall after the surgery.
Ah, I see. So even with the best medical care in the world,
Yeah.
a major injury like that
Yeah.
can still impact a player's longevity
Right.
in a demanding sport like hockey.
Exactly. It's a trade-off for players to consider.
Okay, moving on from knees,
Okay.
I want to talk about an area that's often overlooked,
Okay.
core strength. I have a feeling you're going to tell me it's super important.
You read my mind. Trunk injuries are pretty common in hockey.
Okay,
But there's some good news here.
okay, good.
More off-season training means less risk. So all those grueling workouts are actually worth it.
They are. A strong core is the foundation for everything in hockey,
Okay.
from power and stability on the ice to injury prevention.
Okay. Message received.
Yeah,
Core strength is key.
it's key.
Now, what about back pain?
Mm-hmm.
Is that something hockey players need to be concerned about?
Unfortunately, yes.
Really?
Back pain is surprisingly common in hockey.
Wow.
One study even found it's more prevalent in hockey players
Oh, wow.
than in other German athletes.
Okay. That's a bit alarming.
It is?
What causes back pain in hockey?
Well,
is it the constant bending and twisting?
it's probably a combination of factors.
Okay.
The hunched over posture, the physicality of checking, the strain of quick starts and stops. It all adds up.
Yeah.
And for something like a lumbar disc herniation, which is a common back injury, both surgery and non-surgical treatments have good return to play rates.
Okay. But.
There's always a but.
There is.
Performance tends to take a bigger hit for players who opt for non-surgical treatment.
So surgery might be the more definitive fix in some cases, allowing for a fuller recovery of strength and mobility?
That's the general idea.
Okay.
Non-surgical options, while effective, might not fully address the underlying issue, which could impact performance on the ice.
It's a tough decision for players to make.
It really is.
Yeah.
That's why having a strong medical team to guide them through the pros and cons is so important.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Now, before we wrap up this section, I think it's important to acknowledge that this scoping review, while comprehensive, does have some limitations.
You're right.
Okay.
Most of the research they analyzed falls into level 3 or 4 evidence.
Okay.
Which means we need more high-quality studies to draw really strong conclusions.
And on top of that, public data sources can be inconsistent, and single-team studies don't always paint an accurate picture of the broader hockey population.
Plus, the review covers a wide time span. From 1975 to 2020.
Oh, wow.
Changes in rules, training methods, and equipment over those years could definitely skew the results.
True. Still, this review gives us a lot to think about.
It does. What'd you say?
Absolutely. It underscores the need for ongoing research and continued efforts to improve player safety at all levels of hockey.
For sure.
And that's where we'll pick up after a quick break.
Okay.
Back in a flash.
Sounds good.
Hooray!
All right, we're back and ready to kind of shift gears a little bit.
Okay.
We've talked about the trends and types of injuries. Now let's talk about the how can we prevent these injuries from happening in the first place?
That's the question everyone wants answered, right? Yeah. And while there's no magic bullet, this research does point to some promising strategies.
Okay, so lay it on me.
We talked about flexible boards earlier. What other tools are in the injury prevention toolbox?
Well, you can't underestimate the importance of proper training.
Okay.
We touched on core strength.
Right.
But it's really about building a foundation of strength, flexibility, and balance across all muscle groups.
Okay, so it's more than just hitting the gym and bulking up.
Way more.
Okay.
It's about functional strength.
Okay.
Think agility drills, plyometrics, exercises that mimic what you're actually doing on the ice.
Right.
You want to train your body to move efficiently and handle the specific stresses of hockey.
Makes sense. If you train for the specific demands of the sport, your body's better prepared to handle them.
Exactly.
What else?
Early identification of risk factors is huge.
Okay.
Certain things like hip anatomy, previous injuries, and even playing style can increase the likelihood of specific injuries.
So if you're a player with a history of ankle sprains, you would want to focus extra attention on like ankle strengthening, stability exercises.
Exactly. And coaches and trainers have a big responsibility here.
Right.
They need to be aware of individual players' risk factors and tailor training programs accordingly.
So it's about personalized approaches.
It is.
To injury prevention.
Absolutely.
Okay, so training and risk assessment are key.
Yeah.
What about equipment? Can advancements in gear make a difference?
Absolutely. We talked about the face shield debate.
Right.
But innovations in padding, helmets, even skates can have a big impact.
Okay.
The technology is always evolving.
Yeah.
We're seeing lighter, stronger materials and designs that offer better protection without sacrificing mobility.
So even though hockey is a notoriously rough sport, it sounds like the future of injury prevention is looking pretty bright.
It is.
Okay, good.
But it's not just about the physical side of things.
Okay.
We also need to talk about the mental aspect of injury prevention.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Well, hockey's fast-paced, high pressure, right?
Yeah.
Players are constantly pushing their limits. And that can sometimes lead to risky decisions on the ice.
So you're saying like mental fatigue or just being overly competitive could actually increase the risk of injury.
Exactly. If a player's exhausted or laser focused on winning, they might not be making the smartest choices in terms of protecting themselves.
Okay.
Maybe they take unnecessary risks or ignore those early warning signs of pain.
Right.
And that can lead to something more serious down the line.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah.
Like how driving while drowsy can be just as dangerous as driving drunk.
Exactly.
So how do we address this mental side of the game?
Well,
what can players do to stay mentally sharp
yeah.
and make good decisions when the pressure's on?
Mindfulness and stress management techniques can be game changers.
Okay.
Things like meditation, visualization, even just simple breathing exercises can help players stay calm, focused, and in tune with their bodies.
You know, I've heard so much about mindfulness.
Yeah.
But I never really thought about applying it to hockey. It makes perfect sense, though.
It does.
If you're more aware of your body and your surroundings, you're less likely to make those split-second decisions.
Right.
That could lead to injury.
It's about being proactive, not reactive.
Right. And it's not just on the players.
It's not. Coaches and trainers need to cultivate a culture that values mental health just as much as physical health.
Okay, so we've covered training, risk assessment, equipment.
Yeah.
And now the mental game. What's the big takeaway here for our listeners?
Injury prevention in hockey is a team effort.
Okay.
It requires a holistic approach that addresses all aspects of the game. The physical, the mental, the whole package.
For sure.
And it's a journey, not a destination.
Right.
Players, coaches, trainers, even the folks running the leagues.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to work together
Yeah.
to create a safer, healthier environment for everyone involved.
Well said. I'm actually feeling pretty inspired to get out there,
Yeah.
work on my core strength and mindfulness.
Me too.
How about you?
I'm right there with you.
Okay, good.
But before we hit the gym,
Yeah.
let's shift our focus one last time to a topic that often gets overlooked
Okay.
in the conversation about hockey injuries.
Okay, so we're back for the final period of our deep dive into hockey injuries.
All right.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
From injury trends and types to the importance of prevention, both physical and mental.
Absolutely.
And now it's time to kind of leave you with a final thought, something to really chew on.
All right.
This review focused mainly on orthopedic injuries,
Yeah.
the kind that affect, like, our muscles and bones.
Right.
But what about the injuries we don't always see, the ones that impact the mind?
You're talking about the mental health aspect of injuries.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially in a sport as intense as hockey.
We often focus on the physical recovery.
Yeah.
But the mental and emotional toll can be just as significant,
Absolutely.
if not more so.
For sure.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Like the anxiety a player might feel after a serious injury, the fear of re-injury,
Yeah.
the pressure to get back on the ice quickly.
Right.
It can all have a huge impact
It can.
on their mental well-being.
Absolutely. And think about concussions.
Oh, yeah.
Even seemingly minor ones can have a cumulative effect over time.
Wow.
It's something that players, coaches, and medical professionals need to take incredibly seriously.
It's not just about getting back on the ice. It's
Right.
about making sure players are fully recovered mentally and physically.
Exactly.
So what can we do?
Right.
How can we better support players and address this mental health aspect of hockey injuries?
Well, first and foremost, we need to create a culture where players feel comfortable talking about their mental health.
Right.
There's still a stigma,
Yeah.
especially in a sport that emphasizes toughness and resilience.
It's seen as a sign of weakness to admit you're struggling mentally.
Yeah.
Which is so damaging.
It is. We need to shift that perception.
Yeah.
Players need to know it's okay to ask for help, that seeking support is actually a sign of strength.
Right. And it's not just about talking. It's about access to resources, too.
Absolutely. Teams and leagues need to provide players with access to qualified mental health professionals
Okay.
who understand the unique pressures of this sport.
It's about having that complete support system
It is.
that addresses both the physical and the mental aspects of recovery.
Exactly. And it goes beyond recovery.
Okay.
We need to focus on prevention as well.
Okay. So how do we do that?
Teaching players mental resilience skills, stress management techniques,
Yeah.
and helping them recognize early signs of mental health issues
Okay.
can go a long way in preventing bigger problems down the road.
So as we wrap up our deep dive,
Yeah.
here's the key takeaway for everyone listening.
Okay.
Whether you're a player, a coach, a parent, or just a fan, it's not just about the physical game.
Right.
The mental game is just as important.
It is.
And it deserves our attention.
It really does.
Taking care of both the body and the mind. That's the key to a long, healthy, and fulfilling journey in hockey.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of hockey injuries.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We hope you learned something new.
Absolutely.
And gained a deeper appreciation for the complexities of this incredible sport.
It's a great sport.
It is.
Until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, and keep exploring.
And we'll see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to the Science of Hockey. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to share it with your friends, teammates, or anyone who loves hockey as much as you do. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And we'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment to let us know what you liked, what you'd like to hear next, or any questions you have. Your feedback helps us make the show even better. Until next time, keep your skates sharp, your mind open, and keep chasing the science behind the game.